Hello, fellow Bridgerton fans. I am back again with part three of season season three, episode two. Um, the episode review. So the episode was called "How Bright the Moon." I hope you guys have caught up in part two and part one. If you haven't, be sure to check out those clips before. I have separated them or split the episode review into three parts just because this was the easiest way for me to get through it without rushing it and for me to feel like I'm satisfied with the work that I'm doing. Anyways, so this whole part three starts off after Colin and Eloise have arrived at the social event to which they were invited to. I'm guessing it's a ball because everything here that we've seen, social event, other than a wedding, other than a ball, what else has there been? There are lots of balls. Anyways, I know there are other events. My brain is just like sincerely like I'm having brain fog right now. Anyways, so we see Mama talking to Eloise and telling her, listen, I'm not going to push you to a new suitor. However, I'd like for you to like widen your circle beyond Cressida Cowper. Just get to know other people. So it's not a secret that the mother is very confused about this friendship, but she doesn't want to interfere because she wants to have a good relationship. She doesn't want to have the strained relationship that she had with Eloise in season two. Then we see Francesca and Mama are left together, and she's like talking about her prospects, her prospective matches, and excited about getting into that in the night. Then you see that it's Queen Charlotte's event. She's hosting and she's with Lady Danbury. You see a bunch of debutantes. You see these debutantes trying to get the Queen's attention, and she's just like, she's very dismissive, honestly, but she is the Queen after all. And then, but then at the same time, she's just like, applauding how or like languishing or enjoying the fact that these debutantes want to gain her approval so badly, and the fact that they're bowing down super low is something that she likes, to which Cressida's mother like whispers to her in like she whispers to her and says, if only your bow had been lower when you first came out in society. And I was just like, wow, this mama is very, very malicious, honestly. Like, she's constantly chipping away at Cressida's confidence. Anyways, it's not a surprise why Cressida is the way Cressida is. Then we find ladies who, I want to say ambush, but I'll put quotes, who ambush the brothers. And like you can see that they are desperate to get the Bridgerton's brothers' attention, trying to attract them, trying to lure them, and being quite forward with asking them why they're not on the dance floor and are they planning on being one on the dance floor, to which Colin puts Benedict on the spot, and out of being polite and being a gentleman, he reluctantly agrees to go dance, but we we find out that a dance just isn't a dance a little bit later on. Then in that gathering, we find Portia there, and she's talking to her sons-in-law, asking them, like, where her girls are and why they aren't paying attention to them. Like, she's just forcing this whole thing of producing an heir. That's her mission. And none of the married couples seem to sense or understand this urgency. Honestly, they're a little bit dim-witted, the lot of them. And I say that endearingly. And they're like, yeah, your mom, they're talking to Penelope, and they're like, yeah, your mom is super, super scary. And then Anyways, they just laugh it off. It's all good. Penelope spots Colin, or Colin first spots Penelope, where and then that causes her to walk over to him and apologize for, reading his journal earlier on. And he accepts her apology, and she requests that, she just tells him like she admired his work and she would like to read more of his writing sometime in the future later on. And he's like, okay, I'll think about it, but if you want me to really take it into consideration, I will wager you to go and practice your attraction lessons or whatever, flirting lessons, to Lord Basilio, who happens to be our Viscount. And at first, Penelope is intimidated because of his rank and title, and obviously because of how she's been previously bombing. But I guess she really wants to make good with Colin, and she also wants to read the book, and she also wants a husband. So she goes over and tries to talk to him, and she's trying to be all demure and, like, mysterious, but yet engaging and everything. I loved this scene, honestly. And it was really interesting because Lord Basilio was such like a normal, nervous guy. He was honestly just a darling, but then he quickly leaves. And Colin, the entire time, he had been watching that interaction and seeing how she would perform. I don't know if it's because he's her teacher. Of course, most of the reason would be because he's a teacher, but I'm also wondering, like, if it's also because he's started developing feelings for her. I'm not sure he's realized that yet or not. Anyways, we find out the reason why Lord Basilio left, and it's because, I mean, part of the conversation, Penelope said something along the lines of like, "Oh, life is too short to be like, reserved and all that stuff." And then it was just he breaks down in tears and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just my horse died, and it all happened all too fast and it's too soon." So, Colin comes and then she tells him what happened, and they have a little giggle, not like, of course, not in a mean spirited way, but just because it was funny. They were not expecting that type of sensitivity and attachment to our horse. Anyway, so they start laughing, and then that catches the attention of Eloise, who keeps on looking at them like, okay, what's going on over there? And Cressida notices that her attention is not on Cressida, and I think this is something that Cressida knows. I think I keep on sensing that Eloise, it's there isn't that type of vibe of a romantic attachment, but the how do I put it, the thing that is in common is that she is attached to Eloise. I mean, Eloise was formerly attached to Penelope very closely. And she's still, as much as she wants to say that they have drifted apart and she's keeping her distance and all that stuff, she still, I feel like, low key, she still misses Penelope and all that jazz. She doesn't want to admit it to herself or to other people. So it seems like she's a little bit too interested in whatever Penelope is doing, and Cressida keeps on noticing that, and she keeps on telling her, "Hey, listen, you have to like kind of move on. You kind of have to put her to the back of your mind and kind of treat her like how I would treat somebody who I've fallen out with is by treating them like you're dead. They're dead." To which Eloise is like, to which Eloise responds that it's something that can't happen easily for her, but she will try to put her mind off Penelope. Okay, so they're talking, And as they're on the topic of Colin and Penelope, she ends up spilling the secret that Colin is helping Penelope to look for a husband. She spills it to Cressida. And after she spills the secret, like there's a group of ladies that are gathered, and they like, you can see they want to engage her, they want to talk to her. And I like this for Eloise because it seems like she's finding acceptance within the ton, within the ladies of her group. So I like that for her. Then we see Benedict in another area of the ball, of the event. He's dancing with Miss Stowell, and she seems to enjoy the dance. Thankfully, after the dance is over, he was just dancing with her to be polite. He spots the Mondriches too, and upon doing so, he excuses himself so that he can welcome them officially to the town, and he's kind of like showing them around and hanging out with them at this event. And you can see the Mondriches, they declare, and you can also see it in their body language, that they're so nervous and they're uncomfortable being in this new environment. So they're dressed to the nines and everything. They look the part, however, they don't feel the part yet. And they both talk about how they feel uncomfortable and how the society rules in that world are so new and confusing to them. They kind of don't know where to start. So he kind of talks to them and he tells them, hey, listen, like, this is what you do. Like, okay, let me just back it up. As they're talking, they notice that Miss Stowell, the lady who was dancing with Benedict, is like so excited and she's so giddy and she's kind of like whispering with her mama. And it looks like, that look that as a girl, where you're like, oh, I think I got the one. And you're looking at him like, like you just hunted your prey successfully. That's the look that she's giving him. And little does she know that he's not really interested. So the Mondriches notice that Miss Stowell seems to be more invested in Benedict than he is, and they talk to him about it, and he's like, nah, I'm not really out there like that. I don't want to be in the marriage mart like that. And yeah, which points out to one of the confusing rules. It's like, if you dance with somebody, or if you're seen, or if you do something with someone of the opposite gender and they're out in society, it's like, oh, people are always planning or thinking that you guys are going to be linked or you're going to be married, and it's just like a bit too much. Anywho, so he points out different people, and he kind of tells them, like, am I getting ahead of myself? Anyways, I think like what happens is Alice excuses herself to go get a drink, and then he's left with Will, and he's talking to him about like the number of drinks you're supposed to have at these events, and pointing out at a couple who have more than the drinks that they're supposed to have, and the number of dances that you're supposed to have while you're on the floor. That's if you are not attached. Like, these are married couples, but then some married couples still keep on dancing more than they're supposed to be dancing. But all that to say that all these rules stop meaning anything or stop dictating your life once you're married. But before you're married, you have to kind of follow these rules. So he was kind of letting them know that you guys, the Mondriches, are off the hook because they're already married and they don't need to bother themselves with knowing what these rules and the nuances that come with them are all about. Then we go on to Francesca. She meets someone who goes over to talk to her, and they're discussing music and everything. But then the guy talks about like music in a passionate, romantic, erotic kind of way. Not he's not being a gentleman. He's just discussing like passion and stuff like that. And for Francesca, she looks at music. She loves music. She's all about it. However, she's reserved. She reserves her emotions or her feelings or her perspective on things beyond music. What would you call that? I don't know. But the thing that I said is like she's not really interested in love. She's mostly just about music. She's so tunnel visioned. Like she doesn't have a clue on what romantic love is. And I don't think she's opened herself up, her heart out. It would take somebody who is willing to dig deep and take his time with her for him for her to open up and be about love. So she's not comfortable. Um so as she's talking to that guy, I've forgotten what his name was. The guy bounces because I guess the conversation is not going in the direction he wants it to go. And Agatha, aka Lady Danbury, and Viscountess Bridgerton, Violet, are watching it all from a distance, and they are talking about how this environment is so unnatural for her to be in. She needs to, in order for her to flourish, she needs to be in an environment where she can be around herself. So Lady Danbury has a plan for Francesca, because I think she's interested and she's invested in the Bridgertons. She loves the Bridgertons, and she wants Francesca to garner favor with the queen and be named the sparkler or the diamond, whatever. So Portia finds the girls, and she wants to talk to them. Like I said, she's on a mission. Mission produce the Featherington heir. So she's asking them like, hey, listen, what's the progress? And I think honestly this has to be one of my favorite scenes. So they sneak off to another hall or something, and she's asking the girls like, listen, have you guys been getting busy? And then Prudence is just like, I started, but then I didn't like it. And she's just kind of telling them like, listen, a part of being a woman, it doesn't mean that you will necessarily you will get pleasure immediately. It's something that takes some time. So her precise words is, a woman's pleasure is somewhat more subtle than a man's. 100%. It's crazy to me that they're having these discussions post marriage, and not like, it's not a premarital conversation. So I'm just like, what kind of censorship was there in this type of polite society? It's like there's a thin line between being polite and being like delusional. Delusional, because what do you think is going to happen if you don't talk about it? Like, you're just going to learn it. You're going to catch the lesson in the air. You sniff it. As soon as you're married, when you become married, the air changes around you in such a way that if you sniff, you get all the answers to what marriage life is about. Sniff a little bit, you know what your duties as a wife is. Sniff a little bit, you know what your duties as a mother is. Sniff a little bit, you know what your duty as a lady, a titled lady or an untitled lady, what your duty is. Come on, like, be serious, y'all. So then she's kind of like trying to walk through the whole aspect. She's trying to teach them. She's trying to be graphical, technical about sex. And so she starts to say, when he inserts himself, and then Philippa, the person who had been talking about how she's so passionate with Albion, and they do things here and there and everywhere, and they haven't stopped being passionate. You think these guys have been having sex like bunnies, and she's like, inserts himself where? Woo! Like this, honestly, this was a gem. This script writing here was a gem. Like, I couldn't believe my ears. Inserts himself where? What on earth do you and Mr. Finch do? We kiss, and then he makes an odd sound, and he goes to change his breeches. and and Portia is like, I love her body language. I love how she expresses herself with her entire body. And most importantly, I love like her head tilting and her like finger biting. I love all those like macro and micro expressions. Polly Walker, who is the person who portrays the character of Portia Featherington, aka Lady Featherington. Oh, phenomenal actress. Like, I love just watching her as an actress. She really knows how to perform in this art. Oh, anyways, everyone on this cast is just enjoyable to watch. But let's get back into character. And I wish I could find like a picture of her and that thing, but I don't want to steal anybody's content. I saw something on Reddit. I will put it briefly, honestly. And yeah, so that you know what it means. I love it, honestly. If like I could have a phone case of Portia Featherington, her expressions, like I would put it on a phone case, honestly. So Prudence is like, his breeches remain on, and she's like, of course. And the Portia is like, why must I be punished over and over? To herself, she's asking that a question, as in her daughters. Wow. Ah, I love it. I loved that scene. The queen has had enough of this ball. She's ready to go, and she announces that she's about to leave, and Lady Danbury convinces her to check out a painting in the back room or something. And the queen is like, okay, let me just go check this out. Because, of course, Lady Danbury and her always play this game. They have a game that they play between the two of them. And, Queen Charlotte loves rising up to the occasion, and she wants surprises. So they head there, and the debutants see the queen leaving. They're upset because they didn't get to spend time with her, but Eloise is relieved, and she's just like, I just want to go and stuff my face with chocolate. So she she bounces. I love Eloise for her rawness. She's just for real. She keeps it real. Ain't no lying over here. um so the other debutants are left, and they're like, oh, so what do we do now? Does anyone have any gossip to share? They're kind of lost, and they all look to Cressida, and I'm thinking Cressida is about to like let stuff spill, and to my surprise, she's like, nothing to report here. So she's loyal to Eloise, and she really regards her friendship highly, so, and then she walks away, but then you see them reform a circle, and then there's something happening in that circle. Then Penelope is giving it a go, the flirting a go with another possible suitor, and he's a guy who is in a form of wheelchair, and his name is Lord Remington, and we find out that he's an avid Lady Whistledown fan, and he talks about how he loves gossip. He eagerly waits for her scripts to come out, and this of course like captivates Penelope because, I mean, I think this is the first time someone is admitting to her face how much they love Whistledown. And so it's like being like, an undercover boss, like that show where like you go to, anyways, maybe that's a bad analogy, but then just being incognito and hearing someone praising the persona that you portray, it has to be an ego boost. So I found that that is what this conversation with Lord Remington was for Penelope. And then at the end of this conversation, again, Collins like being in the background and peeping game. When the conversation is over, she's like, yeah, he said he would call on me the next day. And then Colin is like, okay, so are you like, do you like him? And she says yes, she thinks it's wonderful that he's going to call on her, and she's excited about it because she enjoyed their conversation very much. And then as they're talking, you see people like whispering and looking at them and laughing. And so like Penelope is kind of confused, so is Colin, but Colin has the guts, he has the courage to stand up and being like, okay, he approaches somebody and asks them, excuse me, like, what are you guys talking about? And then the lady he approaches says nothing, but one of the mamas who's like beside them and who's obviously gossiping about them is like, okay, I'll tell you. We were wondering why an eligible bachelor such as yourself would try to help a spinster like Penelope find a husband. And then they go on to mock her, and they're like, you know, how do I put it? They pity. They're saying it's a pity that you're doing something like that, but then it's kind of like it's kind of you to do that, but then there's no hope at all for you to do that to help Penelope, because she's beyond any help. Like there's no chance of her ever getting married. So Penelope overhears that, and then she sees everybody whispering, and as usual her feelings are hurt and she's embarrassed, and she leaves immediately. And I felt so sad for Penelope because nobody wants to be the laughing stock of the town, and Penelope keeps on finding herself in this position over and over and over again. It's so tiring. I don't even know how she has the strength and the grace to face the people every single time and to do it with so much grace. Anyway, so that was sad. So Colin is running after her, and then like Eloise is also running after Pen. So Colin knows that, you know, he knows that Eloise was the only other person that he told, so she could be the only source from which that rumor got spread. And so he confronts her, and she apologizes, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to tell anybody, but I was talking to Cressida, and yeah, I thought I could confide in her. And he's just like, you told Cressida? Like, I don't understand why you would tell Cressida. Like, I don't understand why you don't like Penelope, but then why do you have to be so cruel to her? Anyway, so then Penelope is driving off in her carriage, she's going back home, and you can see like in the backdrop or in the shot of that scene, there's a full moon and it's shining bright, and she's just in her carriage and she's crying. Meanwhile, back at the palace or the ball, wherever that event was being held, I want to say this is Lady Danbury's ball. I could be wrong, honestly. Honestly. Because why would the queen leave her own um, home? So it has to be Lady Danbury's ball. Whatever. Anyways, so they go to the back room and they hear music. There's a trail of music that they follow, and wouldn't you know it, it's Francesca, and she's playing the piano. I don't know what piece she's playing, but hey man, she's a pro, and the queen is shocked that such a lady possesses such great skills, and she's not trying too hard to like impress her. So she said, they have this conversation where she's like, I am impressed by you because you're someone who delights in your own endeavors, and you perform for not for the queen, not for me, but for yourself. And that is something to be congratulated. So she's like, brava. One might say that was sparkling or something like that. So she has, like, in a subtle way, declared Francesca to be her sparkler. Everyone is happy, all is well at the end. So now we go back. I think the ball, I can say, is officially over, and then we see Will and Alice back at their manor, and they're just having this conversation. And Mr. Mondrich is like, hi. He goes into her bedchamber, and she's like, hey, you shouldn't be in this bedchamber, you should be in your bedchamber. And he's like, nah man, I'm not going to my bedchamber, I don't want to sleep there. And then she's like, no, but that's how things are done. And it's like, nah, we make the rules ourselves, and we can do whatever we want. We are free from society. We are a married noble couple. Because so we are free from society because we are a married noble couple. And Alice tells him, our son is noble, and he retorts saying, our family is noble. And you this reassurance from Will softens her resolve to her initial resolve, which was like sticking to the rules of the town. And I like the fact that he was able to comfort his wife in a moment where she's experiencing so much anxiety because of this new rank that she's in. And he got the courage to also break away from the burden of society's rules because of Benedict Bridgerton, which I loved. And she finally opens up, and she's like, I'm somehow afraid I will do something wrong and they will take it all away. So you can see that she was walking on eggshells this entire time. And Will is just like, listen. Oh, wait, I forgot. She also said, like, you know, before we worked for everything that we had gotten, and then now it's just like we just have all this stuff and we haven't earned it. And then he's like, none of these people have earned anything that they have, so we too shall enjoy everything that we have gotten guilt free. And then this makes her so happy, so she's just like, oh, finally I don't have to wear those dreadful clothes anymore. And I love it when Will is like, away with Lady Kent's clothes. That was awesome. And then they have this cute little scene in front of like a mirror where they're like, they're just embracing each other and giving each other like little kisses and touches. And there's just like their love connection has been brought back because it was affecting their love life, honestly. So then we assume the assumption is that they made sweet, sweet love as they should. I love this. I love the development of the Mondriches and and their character. They're one of my new favorite Bridgerton couple. So as all this is going down, you find, okay, so Lady Whistledown, we see Penelope writing as Lady Whistledown, and she's crying, of course, right? And as she's writing, as she's crying, which I commend her for, yo, that girl, I don't know if I can write and cry at the same time. So she's giving the people the ton information or tea on how the Featherington sisters, Philippa and Prudence, left early, and then we see we see that these sisters have actually gotten a proper sex education lesson or whatever. So Portia, kudos to you. And they're making love with their husbands, and they seem to actually enjoy it, both of them. So I'm happy for that, because ain't nobody trying to be intimate with somebody and not enjoying it. Okay. So she writes, Lady Whistledown writes, by the light of the moon, it is easy for one to mistake the night as a place of safety. But one must never forget that despite the cover of night, there are still eyes upon us at all times. For me, I was kind of like trying to read into that, because I know a lot is going down, right? There's a lot of hidden meaning in that, because the title of the episode is called How Bright the Moon. So, yeah, let's look into that. By the light of the moon, it is easy for one to mistake the night as a place of safety. So, this night, as we know, Portia had talked about the full moon being a harbinger for fertility, and we see like the girls have finally gotten a grasp on what sex is, and they're having enjoyable, passionate sex with their husbands. Therefore, that's a place of safety for the couple's relationship, and also safety for the Featherington clan, because an heir can be produced from that night. And and I think also it's a place of safety for Penelope, because maybe it's a place that she feels like she can hide in the night. There's not too much scrutiny on her. Then Lady Danbury, she receives a letter from informing her that there's going to be a visitor, but we don't know the identity of this visitor. It's a mysterious or a mystery visitor. She doesn't seem too excited about it. That's something that I noted. Then the next day, Eloise and Cressida get into a fight. Eloise thinks that Cressida is the one who spilled the beans about Colin and Penelope, and again she confronts her about being cruel, and she asks her if you can help being cruel or you can't help being cruel. Is this like truly who you are? Because I thought, like, you were a kind person, and there was a different side to you, but like maybe I was wrong. And Cressida is just like, whoa, hold up, girlfriend. Like, before you go around calling me cruel and accusing me of something I didn't do, which I didn't do, when you were telling me whatever you were telling me, there was Miss Livingston, who is a debutante, who was listening closely to what you were saying. So she is the source of this leak. So, but thank you for your busy. Busy. Give me a minute. Sorry about that. I'm not gonna edit it out, because anybody got time for that. I gotta finish this. I appreciate your concern of cruelty, but instead of looking at me, perhaps you should look in a looking glass, like aka you should look at a mirror. Damn, I was like, what kind of classy comeback is that? What kind of classy comeback is that? And then she walks away, and I was like, you go, girl, you go get a Cressida, you stand up for yourself. You told the truth and no lies. And I like that, because it's like sometimes you find, I feel like Eloise, I applaud her for being a confronter. For me, it's something that I struggle with, but that's neither here nor there. But I like that she's not polite and she's not passive aggressive. I like that she's direct and says it as it is. However, what I will say is that there was misplaced reproof. And reproof is just criticism for a fault. So she's so used to people having this stigma against Cressida. And it comes so easily for her to naturally assume that, yeah, Cressida, of course, Cressida was at fault. Of course, it was Cressida. But it wasn't really Cressida's fault, because she promised her brother that that secret would remain between, not between, amongst the three of them. So she had no right to go and tell Cressida in the first place. So where is the self-awareness there? And also, Cressida was loyal to her, and she's trying to reform, she's trying to change, because she values the friendship she has with Eloise. So she was all the way wrong on that one. And Cressida, she's a truth there. She advocates for herself, and I'm about it. And I think both of them, honestly, I think this friendship has some promise, because I think it pushes them to be different people. It makes them aware of things. How do I put it? They're each other's mirrors, I think. I think they're mirrors for each other. So then Portia reads, she gets her copy of A Lady Whistledown, and she confronts Penelope, and she's just like, honestly, I didn't know what to think about this. It's layered in so much, with so much. So this conversation between Portia and Penelope, woof, this was hard, because Portia was like, tell me it's not true. And Penelope is like, it was foolish of me to ask. Before she can even finish her sentence, she's cut off. And the mom says, it was foolish of you to think that you could achieve higher than you could. Why would you do that? Our family has gone through so much scandal in the Whistledown papers publishing, and now this. And then she goes on and she's like, listen, I thought when you were buying those dresses, when I let you buy those dresses, that you were just doing it for your own amusement. But I didn't actually think you were trying to find a husband. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like, how are you going to find a husband on your third year out? So the mom bears that same sentiment of like, you're never going to get anybody. Why are you trying so hard to get somebody? It's never going to happen for you. And you can see like her daughter is not responding, and she says, listen, sometimes men are more trouble than they're worth. Trust me, I know. And this was a moment, like Penelope doesn't say anything, and you could see like in the end, as much as the mom is furious, she feels for Penelope. She feels pity for Penelope, and she wants to comfort her, but she doesn't know how to comfort her. They have a very strange relationship, and this was a loaded scene. It was a loaded scene. But we're 44 minutes in, and ain't nobody got time to try and break it down. Holler at me in the comment section if you want me to break it down. Soon after that conversation, in the evening to be precise, Penelope receives a visitor who's waiting for her outside her house. That visitor is Colin. They're not supposed to be seen alone together at night, but he says he's bribed Ray, who is Penelope's. Pardon the coughing. I'm here with my little guest here at the studio, so it's about to get a little bit busy. Anyways, so then they have a conversation where he's coming in to check on her after everybody has read what Lady Whistledown has written about Penelope, and also because he wasn't able to touch base with her after the ball. So Penelope is like, yeah, don't worry about me, I'm all right. It's normal for Whistledown to write about people. In fact, it would have been suspicious if Whistledown had not written anything about Penelope in the papers. And when she said that, I was just like, is she like subconsciously revealing the fact that she is indeed Lady Whistledown herself? But Colin didn't catch on, so I was just like, okay, maybe I'm reading too much into things. Let me know in the comments below if I'm tripping or not. And then Penelope then asks Colin for a favor, and the favor that she wants to ask Colin for is a kiss. And then he's confused and he's like, okay, no way. Like, he's a bit hesitant. He doesn't refuse, but he's very hesitant. And she assures him that it wouldn't have to mean anything, and she would not have to hold him to be responsible for making it like their relationship change from a friendship and he's very hesitant, but in the end he does end up giving her a kiss, and it was like he leaned in real slow and he stroked her cheek very gently, and he gave her the softest kiss. And I rate that kiss a 10 out of 10 for our first kiss. It was a great first kiss. Anyways, 5 seconds in, they look up at each other and they continue the kiss. So it was like a prolonged first kiss. I was expecting it to be like a peck, but I tell you what, it was no kissing under the tree first kiss. It was steamy. It was a steamy kiss, I'll tell you. Sorry for that. So yeah, and then she scurries off back into the house and Colin is just left gobsmacked. His world has been rocked. His brain has been blown. He is shooketh to the core. I think he can't believe the fact that he could possibly mm, see Penelope as anything other than a sister or a friend. So the episode ends with on this note where perhaps, oh, this is Lady Whistledown writing this. Perhaps a return to the shadows is for the best. After all, a small taste of light can lead to that most dangerous of emotions, hope. And once hope is lost, a lady may become reckless. So is Penelope about to become reckless? Maybe, maybe not. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how this whole season unfolds. I already know because I've watched it, but it was nice to see how it would unfold. And I'm honestly grateful for the fact that there were two parts, but whatever. We'll get into that next time. Okay, see ya. Thanks for sticking by. Bye.